Ever wondered about the psychology behind a scammer's tactics? The phone rang ominously, its shrill tones slicing through the quiet room. An older person glanced at the caller ID, their face etched with concern. With a sigh, they picked up the receiver. Another telemarketer, they thought, bracing for the usual sales pitch. But something felt off. A tingle of suspicion crept up their spine as they listened to the voice on the other end. "Hello," they answered, their voice deliberately shaky, trying to sound as ancient and technologically inept as possible. "Hello, sir. This is Microsoft Technical Support. We've detected some unusual activity on your computer," the voice claimed. A smirk played on their lips. Bingo, they thought. A scammer. They knew exactly what to do. This wasn't their first rodeo. A virtual machine was already prepped, a digital playground for this unsuspecting scammer. It reminded them of the time their own grandmother had almost fallen for a similar scam. They had intervened just in time, and now they were ready to make sure no one else in their family, or anyone else, would be a victim again. In this video, you'll gain insights into the psychological tricks scammers use and how to effectively counter them. But here's a question for you. What drives a scammer to exploit others, and how can understanding their mindset help protect your loved ones from falling victim to a scam? Unusual activity, I quavered, feigning confusion. My voice trembled just enough to sound convincingly worried. I don't understand. I was just checking my emails. I had been going through my inbox, deleting spam and reading messages from friends and family. The voice on the other end, smooth and rehearsed, launched into a spiel about viruses and malware. He sounded so professional, so convincing, as if he had done this 1,000 times before. I let him ramble, occasionally interjecting with a well-placed, "What's malware?" My innocent questions seemed to encourage him, making him believe he had found an easy target. Or, "My grandson, Timmy, uses this computer sometimes." I mentioned Timmy to add a layer of authenticity to my story, making it seem like I was just a helpless grandparent. He instructed me to press some keys on my keyboard. His instructions were clear and precise, designed to make me feel like I was in safe hands. I pretended to struggle, muttering about the letters being too small. My hesitation was deliberate, making him think I was having trouble following his instructions. Each click of the keyboard was a step deeper into my carefully constructed trap. I was leading him on, making him believe he was gaining control. Little did he know, I was directing him into my virtual machine, a separate computer system within my own. This virtual environment was isolated, ensuring my real data remained safe. He was about to enter a world entirely under my control. I watched as he navigated through the virtual machine, thinking he was accessing my personal files. In reality, he was only interacting with decoy data, carefully planted to keep him occupied. My heart raced with anticipation, knowing that I was about to turn the tables on him. This was my moment to expose the scam and protect others from falling victim to his deceitful tactics. As he continued to explore the virtual machine, I prepared to reveal the truth, ready to confront him with the evidence of his own wrongdoing. The power was in my hands, and I was determined to use it wisely. "Now, sir, can you please tell me what you see on your screen?" the scammer asked, his voice laced with growing impatience. He had been trying to get me to follow his instructions for what felt like an eternity. "Well," I drawled, "there's this thingy with a lot of numbers and flashing lights. Is that bad?" I could almost hear the exasperation in his sigh. I could practically hear him grinding his teeth. His patience was wearing thin, and I was just getting started. He tried to guide me through the labyrinth of system settings, but I was a master of misinterpretation. Every step he described seemed to lead me further into confusion. Every instruction was met with a barrage of questions, each more absurd than the last. "What do you mean by click?" I asked, genuinely puzzled. "What do you mean by click? Do I use the mouse or this space button?" I continued, my voice dripping with feigned innocence. "Do I use the mouse or this space button?" The scammer's frustration was palpable, and I was reveling in it. The frustration in his voice was music to my ears. I could tell he was on the verge of losing it, and that was exactly what I wanted. I had turned the tables, and now he was the one feeling lost and confused. Minutes turned into what felt like hours as I continued to play my part. Each question I asked seemed to push him closer to the edge. I could almost see the beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he struggled to maintain his composure. It was a game of cat and mouse, and I was winning. I typed, slowly, deliberately, making sure to ask for clarification on every single step. "Can you repeat that?" I would say, pretending not to understand. The more confused I acted, the more frustrated he became. It was a delicate dance, and I was leading. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he gave up. The line went dead, and I couldn't help but smile. I had outlasted him, and it felt like a small victory. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a sense of satisfaction wash over me. I had turned the tables on the scammer, and it felt good. Sometimes, getting lost in translation can be a good thing. I sent him on a wild goose chase, bouncing him between control panel menus, system information windows, and even the dreaded blue screen of death, carefully simulated, of course. With each passing minute, his instructions became more desperate, his tone more agitated. "Sir, please, just type Event Viewer in the search bar," he pleaded, his patience wearing thin. "Event? Viewer?" I echoed slowly, deliberately misspelling it as even viewer. Like a television for events? Silence. I imagined him banging his head against his desk. This was too easy. After an eternity of digital detours, navigating through a labyrinth of online scams and cyber threats, I found myself at a crossroads. The endless maze of deceit had led me to this very moment. I decided it was time for the grand finale. The scammer, with his false sense of security, instructed me to download a program. His voice was dripping with confidence, as if he had done this 1,000 times before. He claimed it was a security tool, a magical fix for all my supposed computer problems. Little did he know, I was already several steps ahead of him. "Oh, a tool," I chirped, feigning excitement. "Timmy loves tools," I exclaimed, injecting a playful tone into my voice. I could almost hear him smirk on the other end, thinking he had me right where he wanted. "He has a whole toolbox under his bed," I continued, painting a picture of innocence and naivety. The scammer, completely unaware of my true intentions, continued with his script. While he babbled about installation instructions, going on and on about how this tool would save my computer from certain doom, I remotely accessed his computer. Yes, you heard that right. The scammer had become the scammed. With a few keystrokes, I had infiltrated his system. His cursor began to move erratically, opening and closing windows with a mind of their own. It was as if his computer had developed a life of its own, rebelling against its master. I could practically hear the panic in his voice as he realized he was no longer in control. The tables had turned, and the hunter had become the hunted. His once confident demeanor crumbled, replaced by sheer terror. The realization that he was now the victim of his own game was almost palpable. I watched with a sense of satisfaction as he scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. The damage was done, and the lesson was clear. Never underestimate your prey. "What's happening?" he stammered, his voice cracking with a mix of confusion and fear. "Oh, Timmy must be playing with his tools again," I replied nonchalantly. I opened his web browser and navigated to a website playing loud polka music. Then I started typing random gibberish into his search bar, things like "why are cats fluffy" and "why do they purr?" and how to make the best grilled cheese sandwich. The tables had turned, the hunter had become the hunted, and I was thoroughly enjoying myself. Unveiling the Scam. Through all the chaos, I made sure to point out the flaws in his scam. "You know," I said conversationally, "Microsoft never calls you directly, and they certainly don't ask for access to your computer." He sputtered, trying to regain control of the narrative. But it was too late. The jig was up. I had exposed him for the fraud he was. More importantly, I had wasted his time. Time he could have spent trying to swindle someone less tech-savvy. The power of VPN. "You know, young man," I continued, my voice taking on a lecturing tone, "you really should be more careful online, and you should be using a VPN." He mumbled something unintelligible, probably a string of expletives. "A VPN," I explained patiently, "is a virtual private network. It encrypts your internet connection and protects your privacy. It's like a secret tunnel for your data." Of course, I wasn't actually concerned about his online security, but if this encounter could convince even one person to take their digital safety seriously, it would be worth it. Justice? Not quite. He finally managed to hang up, cutting me off mid-sentence. I chuckled to myself. Justice? Maybe not. Satisfaction? Absolutely. I knew he would probably move on to his next target, but at least he wouldn't forget his encounter with the technologically challenged senior citizen who was anything but. This wasn't about revenge. It was about taking a stand, about fighting back against the scammers who prey on the vulnerable. Stay sharp, stay safe. The internet can be a dangerous place, but it doesn't have to be. By being vigilant, by educating ourselves and our loved ones, we can create a safer online experience for everyone. So, remember, be wary of unsolicited calls or emails. Never give out personal information to unknown sources. Use strong passwords and enable two-factor authentication. And most importantly, invest in a reputable VPN service. Stay sharp, stay safe, and don't let the scammers win. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more tips on staying safe online.